Okay. It's twofold. One is they believe internally that last year's lack of production was a combination of injuries and being unavailable, the suspension plus Xavier Worthy getting hurt immediately and not being 100%, coaching, which is they replaced wide receiver coach and offensive coordinator, and a total lack of any running game threat that allowed teams to only play the pass. That is one bucket of this. They think all of those things, you hope the injuries are not as bad this year, you change coaches, and you spent money on the running back. That's one piece. The other piece of it is...
Isn't that something? The lack of production stemmed from injuries, an inconsistent rushing attack, and subpar coaching. You mean the very obstacles that Justin Herbert has faced throughout his entire professional tenure? The exact circumstances he walked into on day one? If that's the case, then what Herbert has managed to achieve is nothing short of remarkable, impressive, and almost unbelievable. An unreliable ground game, sometimes outright dreadful, a porous offensive line, receivers who are either underwhelming or perpetually injured, and questionable coaching. It's almost comical. This reminds me of a take from last season when Nick was discussing the Chiefs' upcoming challenge. He said, "This is what I've been arguing. As long as Patrick Mahomes has protection and targets he trusts, he is the premier quarterback in the league." Yet, week after week, he would ridicule the Chargers' offensive line, quipping that Herbert's most critical teammates were apparently his blockers. Then he would turn around and ask, "Isn't this exactly what you just described, lack of production due to all these factors?" So, which is it? This is precisely why I push this topic to its absolute limit. If you require superior receivers, a more potent running game, and better coaching to succeed, then why does Mahomes receive all the accolades? Why isn't Herbert credited for what he has accomplished under identical, if not worse, conditions? Because Herbert has dealt with this his entire career. S isn't a matter of opinion, it's an undeniable, concrete fact. He has guided his team to the playoffs multiple times despite these glaring deficiencies. Mahomes, by contrast, has not done so under similar duress. And what about Mahomes winning a Super Bowl? Yes, but by Nick's own admission, he did so in significantly more favorable circumstances. I'm merely stating the obvious. I want to delve deeper into this, but before I do, Chargers fans, wherever you may be, please, I urge you, do not forget to subscribe and watch the full-length video. Your engagement drives views and subscriptions through the roof. This isn't about chasing those metrics for their own sake, it's about creating Chargers content that people genuinely want to watch and discuss. That's how we maintain the most unbiased, grounded, and honest conversations about the Chargers. Watching the entire video makes a massive difference, and I would sincerely appreciate it. But this situation is utterly hilarious to me. I have to give a shout out to the community here, to the comment section. This is the benefit of reading your feedback, because I didn't originally catch this take. I posted the full clip, and a user named Benny replied, "This man is literally describing what the Chargers have been dealing with since Herbert was drafted, laugh out loud." I simply responded, "So true." And that's when I knew I had to turn this into a video. It's something I've addressed before, but this observation is just too perfect. It's genuinely funny. And again, you can't just default to Patrick Mahomes won Super Bowls. That's not the conversation. It's not even a clever distraction anymore, it's just an empty deflection. So, let's ask, what's more impressive at this point? Real talk. I know how people think, and I know I'm backing them into a corner. That's how I know this ends up being checkmate. Because I understand the global narrative. Is it more impressive to carry a flawed team, with all the issues Nick himself outlined, to the playoffs and make them competitive, turning nothing into something? Or is it more impressive to have a great team and win a Super Bowl? Because Jalen Hurts certainly didn't get any recognition. Sam Darnold has received essentially none either. The only recent Super Bowl winning quarterbacks who got genuine flowers were Mahomes and Matthew Stafford. Not Hurts, not Darnold. And when the Chiefs fall short, which they have in multiple years, it's never Mahomes' fault. He didn't have the team. But he got to the Super Bowl. Under that logic, shouldn't it be impressive that Herbert, with an even worse squad, a more injured roster, and a more dysfunctional line, at least managed to reach the playoffs? Isn't that worthy of at least a modicum of respect? No? Okay, then. We still don't know the criteria for respecting, appreciating, or praising a quarterback. I just made a video about this, and a commenter named JCT pointed out that we'll say, it's not Mahomes' fault because of the O-line. But then we don't praise Joe Burrow enough for what he's done with a bad line, or Herbert for the same. I know Mahomes missed some games, I'm not oblivious to that. But remember, Herbert played 16 games to Mahomes' 14. Herbert threw 26 touchdowns to Mahomes' 22. 11 interceptions versus 13. Herbert completed 66.4% of his passes, Mahomes, 62.7%. Passer rating, Mahomes 89.6, Herbert 94.1. Herbert was pressured 263 times, Mahomes only 205. Even when we adjust for completion percentage, Mahomes sits at 73.3% while Herbert is at 76.2%. So, think about what we're dealing with here. If you cite lack of production, Herbert actually had superior production and was a higher-rated quarterback, despite having all the same issues and then some. Both had great defenses, but the Chiefs had better coaching. Doesn't that mean Herbert deserves substantial credit? Not to mention, even if you dismiss Herbert's season as unremarkable, shouldn't we expect him to be significantly better with a better team? Can we at least offer him that hypothetical? I'm just trying to do the math and figure it out. He even brings up the running game. The Chargers averaged 4.4 yards per carry with 10 touchdowns, the Chiefs averaged 4.2 with 15 rushing touchdowns. When you remove the rushing yards from both quarterbacks, the Chiefs gained a whopping 10 more yards per game on the ground. But that's misleading because the Chiefs were trailing and lost several games. And Mahomes got injured, so those final contests weren't the most efficient. You'd imagine the trajectory would have been much closer, pretty much on par. Yet again, we're discussing the Chiefs' run game issues as if they were game-changing. But doesn't Herbert deserve some praise for overcoming that? In the way Nick tried to do early in the season when he thought things would work out for Mahomes, proclaiming Mahomes as MVP and remarkable until it stopped being true. It's such a bummer that people will hear this and perceive it as hatred toward Mahomes. It truly is. Because this is really about offering counter-positives and defense for Herbert. And the answer can't simply be Super Bowls and playoff wins. That's not how it works. If Mahomes had endured Herbert's situation for 5 or 6 seasons and still won Super Bowls, I could understand that argument. But that has never happened. You can try to convince yourself it happened in 2022, 2023, or 2024, but it didn't. I know you want it to be true, but those seasons didn't unfold that way. I'm sorry. It just didn't work like that. Again, I don't think I'm being controversial. I'm just speaking reality. I'm making some of the most obvious observations. None of this is groundbreaking. It's really quite funny when you think about it. Could you imagine having that conversation about Herbert? You couldn't. They lack the ability to. And that's what will make this season so enjoyable for the Chargers. Their O-line should be significant. Better, their running game should be improved, their coaching should be superior, and their receivers should be more reliable. Do you think with all those upgrades, Herbert will be better? Do you think he's been pretty good already? Isn't it remarkable that Herbert was technically the 7th or 8th ranked quarterback, threw for 3,700 yards, top 9, and was top 10 in completion percentage despite all those problems? I think that's impressive. He was 12th in completion percentage. Do you think it's possible that with an improved passing game, better tight ends, a stronger running game, a fortified O-line, and enhanced coaching, everything Nick is talking about, he could perform even better? Do you think he could produce like a top 5 quarterback? Is that out of the realm of possibility? He did it with clearly worse circumstances. And when I go through all these statistics, I don't see that for Patrick Mahomes. Just look at completion percentage. I'm trying to stick with numbers that aren't skewed by game outcomes. Herbert was 10th in completion percentage, Mahomes was 22nd, below Baker Mayfield, who didn't have the best line or receivers either. Mahomes was below Jackson Dart and C.J. Stroud, below Jalen Hurts, that quarterback everyone criticizes. In passer rating, Herbert was 12th, Mahomes was 20th, just above Tua Tagovailoa and Bryce Young. These are just the stats, man. I'm just going through them. And for fun, Baker Mayfield was pressured more. Bo Nix was pressured more, C.J. Stroud was pressured more. I find that interesting. It's interesting because of these contradictions, it's hard to wrestle with, it's not easy, and it changes all the time, which I appreciate and try to navigate. That's why people love to default to wins and losses and nothing else. Except when it's Jalen Hurts or someone like that. Otherwise, it's always wins and losses. Except when a quarterback beats Mahomes, and suddenly there are so many other factors involved. Oh, okay. Got it. Makes sense. Those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you all think about Justin Herbert deserving more credit? Do you realize that Nick Wright literally just accidentally defended Justin Herbert? He did. If that's the defense for Mahomes and the Chiefs, then it has to be the defense for Herbert and the Chargers. That's how it works in a court of law, that's how it works in debate. That's why they cite past cases. They say, look, this sets a dangerous precedent, or this is a big win for future cases. That's how it works. I didn't create this system, I just live in it. So, let me know your thoughts. I read every single comment, whether you agree or disagree. Let's get into some discussions, maybe some debates, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. Please consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you as part of it. I want to build something we all feel connected to, something we're excited to be part of. We're well on our way. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, it really does help with visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.